Hello and welcome. Today we are going to be looking at an email from Oura Ring, and we're going to recreate this email using the Email Love Figma plugin. So thank you for joining. If you are joining live, feel free to ask questions in the chat. But first, before we dive into Figma, let's take a look at the email that we will be recreating. So this email was submitted by Naomi West. Thank you for doing that, Naomi. This is a great example. What I like about this email is it uses a lot of HTML text. So this is all HTML. There's some beautiful photography. It has some interesting content, uses bulletproof buttons, and it's a design that looks great on desktop as well as on mobile and in dark mode. So I'm excited to show you how we can easily recreate this in Figma using our plugin. So let's jump on over to Figma and have a look at that. So I'm just going to switch screens here. And let's go full screen. Okay, so here is an image of the email that we'll be recreating, just so you can see how it should look. And then we have our Figma plugin here. We just actually made some updates this morning. We've added quite a few new template components that you can use, and we'll be using some of these new ones to recreate this newsletter. So before we get started, we will need to create a frame for our email. So I'm going to click this Add New Frame button here, and that's going to create an Email Love frame. This is the table that contains our email. Let's give it a different name. So let's say it's Oura Newsletter. And starting from top, we will add the logo, some text, an image, and then the body copy and a button to start off with. So I'm going to jump into the header section of the plugin, and I'm going to add a center aligned logo. You simply need to double click on the logo and you can replace the Email Love logo with your own. Let's have a look here. This one looks a little bit too big, so we can resize it easily. They actually have quite a small logo, and obviously it's been optimized for dark mode, and we can very easily, using Figma's tools, change the background color. So I'm going to just select, let's see, I'm going to select the wrapper that contains the image, and then on the right hand side I just simply need to use the color picker to update that background. So there we go. So one thing I've noticed here, there's a little bit of padding underneath this Oura logo. And so what I can do is I can select the wrapper, and using Figma's auto layout features on the right hand side, I can add additional padding underneath the logo. So there we go. Okay, so now I'm going to jump over into the single column section of the plugin, and I'm going to add some live HTML text. I think this H1 headline is probably the best fit. So just clicking on that builds out the structure of that section. We actually don't need the sub text section, so you can simply select the MJ text frame and you can delete that pretty easily. What I'm going to do is just basically copy the text from the Oura email and then select that text in the frame. Now we have a little bit of styling to do. I do want to add some padding. So I'm going to add 20 pixels of padding on the sides. Need to update this to fill. And then I'm also going to change the size of the text so that it looks similar. And obviously on the right hand side, you can see I can use Figma's tools to change the alignment, change the line height, the letter spacing, things like that. Again, I'm going to have to update the background color as well as the color of the text. Okay, so now there is too much padding between the logo and this text. Actually, I might go back to this section and just reduce that. That looks pretty close to how the original email looks to me. Okay, let's probably update the padding because I want it to look exactly the same. So what I'm going to do is, okay, that looks pretty good. So let's preview that in the plugin, see how that looks. Okay, looking pretty good so far. Now we need to add an image. We have added a new image section to the plugin. You can add this lovely Oura. We'll update that image. Again, just clicking on the image, this pops up and you can replace it. And I will set that to fill, so the image fills the space. And then again, let's have a look at that and see how it looks. I think the original version has a little bit more padding underneath the text, so we can select the wrapper and then using auto layout inside of Figma, you can easily increase or decrease the padding around your content. Okay, so now we have a text section. So I'm going to go to my single column tab within the plugin. I'm going to add this content block here because that looks pretty similar to what we have. So beginning with the headline, let's just get our text in there first. Okay, again, updating the colors using Figma's tools. And then this text looks way too big in comparison, so I'm going to change that to a 16 pixel font size, and again the line height looks too big. And this headline text is much smaller. Okay. Same thing for the button. You just select the button and then you can update the colors. And you can also select the button and you can change the size of it very easily. Okay, so the other thing I'm noticing about this section is the padding is quite different. So let's reduce the padding here. Maybe add a little bit more there. There we go. You can also add padding to text, buttons, and images themselves. And so I'm going to add a little bit more padding underneath this text section. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now I still need to add some dividers to the plugin. So I've got one here that I will add very soon, but here's a, oops, here's a divider. I can grab any wrapper and I can just simply drop it into the creative. Okay, let's have a look at how that is rendering. Now that I look at it, I think I want a little bit more pad. Okay, let's preview that. You can view on desktop and various mobile devices. Again, this is all going to export as live HTML text, which enhances accessibility, and it also makes the email look great on mobile devices. Okay, this is looking really good so far. Pretty happy with it. Let's move on to the next section. So we have an image that we need to add. So when you add content, you want to select the frame and then just click on the content type that you want to add. Okay, and let's add an image. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to copy this section that I've already styled, because it looks pretty similar to the section that I'm about to add. So what I can do is I can just drag that down there. I do want to add this activity insights piece of text, and so what I would do is I would select, I'm going to select this existing text frame, and then I'm just going to copy it. And then reduce the font size. It's quite a small font there. Okay, and then I also want to add a little bit of padding around that. Again, select the MJ font, MJ text frame, and then you can apply some padding around that. Okay, they have a different style button in this section, so I can select the button. I'm actually going to remove the background color, and I'm going to add a stroke. So a stroke adds a border around the button. You can control how thick that border is. I'm going to make it probably 2 pixels, and then I'm going to update the font within the button and the text. I'm also going to reduce the padding below this or above this button. Okay. Let's preview that, see how it's looking. Okay, looking pretty good so far. And then we have another image that we need to add. Let's just preview this again. I want to see if that padding gets applied around that image. Okay, so you can see here what I did there, sorry if you missed that, I added some auto layout padding just around this image, so you have a border around it now. And so what I'm going to do is copy this image and then select the wrapper and just move that down here and then update. One thing I just noticed is when you select this image, you see blue border. So the image is actually, I actually want to reduce the size of that. I want to make sure the image fits within the image frame that I have it in. So I'm going to, I just reduced it. It's the same size as the frame now. And then I'm going to set the image from fit to fill. And that should look really good. We have another divider actually, so I can also copy an existing divider and then just move that down here. And then I think the padding of the divider needs to be a little bit different. I'm gonna reduce that. Okay, let's see how that is looking. Okay, the image looks a little bit off. Let's see what's going on there. Okay, and then we have another divider. Let's take another look. Okay, looking pretty good. I think I've done something with the padding of this section. So what I'm going to do is just replace this image with the ring image. Oops. And I'm going to set this to fit, and that should look good. Okay, so that's most of the email. Let's take a look at how it renders. So it's looking pretty good on desktop. Let's take a look on mobile. You can see everything responds, the buttons get larger. One thing I may want to do is I can change the size of the headlines on mobile if I want to. So what I could do is select this text frame and then click on mobile styles, and then I can update the font size on a mobile device. So I might want to update this from say we want it to be 20, we want the line height to be 19 on mobile. So let's take a look at how that looks. That looks pretty similar. Let's see, what did I? It's probably 30. And we can also do this one just to show you. And so you can select any element and then you can preview it on mobile. And you can adjust the padding, the size of the text. Yeah, you can see here. I need to adjust the line height, but on mobile, this font will now increase in size. You can also show or hide sections on desktop or mobile. And so let's take a look at dark mode. This looks great in dark mode. On iOS devices, you can control the background colors and the font styles in dark mode. That will not work in Gmail and Outlook and other email clients, but iOS plays very nicely with email CSS. So you can control that if you have a large enough iOS user base. But I think we're ready to export. So now that we've finished our email, we simply click on the export button, and here we can either download the code as HTML, MJML, or we can export to one of these ESPs. We can also just copy the code, and we can also post the images or send ourselves a test. So let's send myself a test, and we can see how it looks in the inbox. Okay, let me just switch what I'm sharing. Okay, so here's the email in my Gmail account. You can see here, this is all HTML text. And again, this is all going to be responsive on my iPhone. It's going to look great. We built it using Mailchimp markup language is the framework we use, and so it's going to look good in Outlook, Yahoo, AOL, the Gmail client for mobile devices. And so that's all I wanted to share with you today. Let me know if you have any questions, or if you want to see me build another email in one of these webinars. Just let me know which one. I'd be more than happy to do it. But hopefully that shows you how quick and easy it is to build an accessible, responsive newsletter using the Email Love Figma plugin. Thanks.